Hello, how are you doing? Today, let's talk about something interesting, a bit complex but interesting about a great thinker. So, to start with, as you watch this video, you probably think that you're awake. You're not asleep and dreaming, right? But how do you know you aren't dreaming? French philosopher René Descartes, from 1596 to 1650, notably asked a question like this at the beginning of his meditations on first philosophy. We have talked about that in another video. The response he gave was that due to the impossibility of being certain about whether or not one is dreaming, the individual in question couldn't claim to have knowledge about their wakeful state. Since they lacked certainty about not being in a dream, they couldn't establish the truthfulness of any beliefs acquired through their senses, thus concluding that none of their sensory-based beliefs amounted to knowledge. You can surmise that Descartes is commonly associated with skepticism, a perspective that asserts our limited knowledge due to the requirement of certainty. Different forms of skepticism exist, ranging from global skepticism, which claims that nobody knows anything at all, to external world skepticism, which doubts beliefs about the external world beyond our thoughts. Limited skepticisms target specific areas such as scientific, religious, or moral knowledge. So skepticism towards certain sources such as propaganda, astrology, or wishful thinking is often considered justified since knowledge is not obtained from those sources. However, the fact is that the use of dreams to challenge our knowledge and inspire skepticism has a long history in philosophy. It wasn't born with René Descartes. So Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, a Persian Muslim philosopher and legal scholar, jurisprudence scholar, indeed explored the role of dreams in questioning knowledge several centuries before René Descartes and much before modern thinkers or Freud. Al-Ghazali, who lived from 1058 to 1111, used dreams as a tool to raise skeptical concerns about knowledge. He highlighted the subjective and sometimes deceptive nature of our perceptions, drawing attention to the fact that dreams can often feel vivid and real despite being merely mental fabrications. So by emphasizing the unreliability of our senses, al-Ghazali called into question the certainty of the knowledge we acquire through them. So this skeptical approach aligns with Descartes' famous philosophical method of doubt, where he sought to doubt everything that could be doubted in order to arrive at indubitable knowledge. Descartes, you know it, famously pondered the possibility that he might be dreaming and used it as a basis to doubt the reliability of his senses and the knowledge gained from them. While Descartes is often credited with introducing the dream argument to Western philosophy, it's important to recognize that the use of dreams to question knowledge has a deeper historical context, with al-Ghazali being one of the notable earlier thinkers to employ this approach. Philosophical ideas often build upon and respond to earlier contributions, and it's fascinating to see the continuity of such themes across different cultures and time periods. So in this video, the focus is on al-Ghazali's dream argument as presented in his autobiographical work, Al-Munqidh min al-Zalal, or Dalal, however you pronounce it. In English you call it the deliverance from error. We will delve into how al-Ghazali employs this argument to cast doubt on the extent of our knowledge and raises questions about its validity. It explores the significance of the dream argument in challenging the notion of knowledge itself. Let's talk about al-Ghazali's intellectual journey through skepticism. Al-Ghazali structures deliverance as a letter directed to an unidentified recipient who inquired about his path from uncertainty to conviction. In this text, al-Ghazali initiates his intellectual exploration by refining on his early years when he firmly held numerous religious and cultural convictions ingrained in him through his Islamic upbringing. However, his doubts arose when he observed discrepancies between his beliefs and those of individuals raised in Christian and Jewish traditions. He explains it himself, quote, "The thirst for grasping the real meaning of things was indeed my habit, and wont from my early years and in the prime of my life. It was an instinctive, natural disposition placed in my makeup by God Most High, not something due to my own choosing and contriving. As a result, the fetters of servile conformism fell away from me, and inherited the beliefs lost their hold on me when I was still quite young." Unquote. So inherited beliefs were lost upon Ghazali when he was still very young. So al-Ghazali embarks on his journey with the aim of discerning the veracity of commonly accepted beliefs within his community and attaining a state of unwavering certainty. In order to achieve this, he outlines the sequential stages he undertakes to regain the firmness of conviction. To commence his quest, al-Ghazali formulates and meditates upon a criterion that would enable him to ascertain whether the knowledge he acquires through his senses and reasoning can be deemed certain. So here is what he says, quote again, "Then it became clear to me that sure and certain knowledge is that in which the thing known is made so manifest that no doubt clings to it, nor is it accompanied by the possibility of error and deception, nor can the mind even suppose such a possibility." Unquote. So al-Ghazali discovers that a considerable number of his beliefs failed to withstand this rigorous examination, like many of ours. Furthermore, he begins to harbor doubts regarding his sensory-based beliefs, as they are susceptible to errors and can be rectified by rational beliefs. The sense of sight, being the most potent among the senses, serves as an illustration of this predicament. It perceives a stationary and immobile shadow, leading to the judgment that motion is absent. However, through subsequent experience and observation, it becomes evident an hour later that the shadow is, in fact, in motion. Similarly, sight may behold a star and perceive it as diminutive, comparable to the size of a dinar or a present-day $2 coin. Yet through geometrical proofs, it becomes clear that the star surpasses the earth in magnitude. In cases such as these, where sensory data is involved, the faculty of perception provides its judgment, but the faculty of reason refutes them, repeatedly exposing their fallibility in an irrefutable manner. Then what happens? Consequently, al-Ghazali begins to question the previously unshakable certainty he had placed in his sensory experiences. There are legitimate grounds for doubting the notion that sensory experiences accurately depict reality. This doubt arises from the frequent occurrence of contradictory sensory experiences, such as when al-Ghazali observes the movement of a shadow an hour after perceiving it as motionless. Additionally, the utilization of mathematical proofs or other scientific methodologies, as exemplified in al-Ghazali's illustration of a star, furnishes further justification for doubting the correspondence between our sensory experiences and the objective reality they purport to represent. Let's look at al-Ghazali's dream argument. Al-Ghazali proceeds to examine beliefs grounded in reason, which he refers to as primary truths, such as the belief that 10 is greater than 3, or that a claim cannot be both affirmed and denied simultaneously. However, these reasoned beliefs do not fare any better than beliefs derived from sensory experiences. In order to elucidate this point to his readers, al-Ghazali employs the personification technique, attributing voices to his senses so that they can engage in a debate with him. The senses argue that if reason, which al-Ghazali considers a higher faculty than sensory experiences, can be employed to doubt the validity of sensory perceptions, then it's plausible that an even higher faculty could cast doubts on the reliability of reasoned belief. During this imaginary debate, al-Ghazali's sensory experiences bolster their argument by drawing an analogy with the phenomenon of dreaming. When we dream, we firmly believe in the truthfulness of the dream world. However, upon waking up, we realize that those dream beliefs were false. By extension, if there were to exist a third type of experience, one that falls outside the realms of both dreaming and wakefulness, it could call into question the beliefs we typically hold while awake. This hypothetical third experience would resemble the act of awakening from a dream, enabling us to perceive a higher reality. Later in Deliverance, al-Ghazali revisits the topics of his hypothetical third experience. He suggests that each individual possesses an ability that surpasses reason, known as prophecy. While many may not recognize these experiences as such, Sufis, Islamic mystics, and the prophets, according to Ghazali, are considered masters of these states through their devotional practices. Al-Ghazali refers to these experiences as fruitional experiences, which establish an intimate connection with God. According to Al-Ghazali, the perfection of God, particularly his omniscience and benevolence, lends certainty to many of our sensory and rational beliefs through these fruitional experiences. In other words, for al-Ghazali, genuine knowledge can be attained through fruitional experiences of God. Even if one doesn't accept the existence of God or fruitional experiences, doubts can still be raised regarding the certainty associated with reason and self-evident truths by considering the possibility of a higher faculty, as suggested by the analogy presented by al-Ghazali's personified senses. So let's sum it up. In the opening of Deliverance from Error, al-Ghazali presents several skeptical considerations regarding the essence of knowledge. So his aim is to instill uncertainty in seemingly unquestionable beliefs. So throughout the remainder of the letter, al-Ghazali counts his exploration of diverse fields of study, including rational theology, we call it kalam, and Aristotelian philosophy, Ismailism, and Sufism. However, it's only through Sufism that al-Ghazali finds a path to address and overcome the doubts he initially raised through his dream argument. So, In the end, it's fair to suggest that al-Ghazali finds a resolution to the doubts he initially raised through his engagement with Sufism. But it's important to note that al-Ghazali's work is complex and multifaceted, and different interpretations can arise. It can be argued that Sufism might not be the only factor that helped him address his doubts. Other influences and philosophical considerations also contributed to his eventual reconciliation of skepticism and faith. But what is beautiful and important is that this journey manifests itself in an interplay among doubt, intellectual inquiry, and spirituality in al-Ghazali's thought, one of the greatest scholars of Muslim thought. With that, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. I hope you had fun learning about al-Ghazali's bouts with skepticism and how he approached it, how he used dream analogy, and how he dispelled his doubts through falling back on Sufism. Very interesting. Al-Ghazali is an engaging thinker, whether or not you agree with him. So thank you very much and see you next time.